My name is Sigita Struberga. I am Secretary General of Latvian Transatlantic Organization, and I would like to greet all of you in this very special event, first event of the Riga conference. Madam Minister, thank you so much for joining us. Dear colleagues, dear experts, and of course our wonderful speakers. For us, it was very important to start the Riga conference with the emphasis on civic responsibility, civic engagement. Defense and security are the key issues, key priorities for our region at the moment. But we can't really imagine any security, any defense nowadays with full-fledged cooperation between military sector and civil sector. And here I would like to underline that individual responsibility is a key. And today we have amazing speakers and actually amazing moderator as well. And all those people have taken responsibility, individual responsibility in building resilience, building civically active society, being able not only take care of own family, of your self, but also to think about others, to support those who are weaker, those who need additional support. And I will give floor to Solvita to introduce with speakers, but me personally, I really would like to say once more great thanks for what you are doing, because each of you I really admire for the work you do, for trying to unite society, to discuss inconvenient issues in our society, about mobilizing people for support to Ukraine with all possible means, for uniting society to take care of community, of surroundings of community, to mobilize people to be part of National Guards and to take security even more paramilitary, military approach, and of course to discuss issues which are very much connected with those topics which we see as kind of soft questions which are not really about security, like for example humor, as Solvita has done, and many other. So that's why I really wish great success for this discussion, and I'm sure there will be great success, taking in consideration the amazing work all of you do. And I think this is the best discussion to start the Riga conference this year.
Thank you so much, Sigita. I told you we are an official opening of the Riga conference, right, Sigita? Distinguished guests, Your Excellencies, and the most important, those who are on the opposite side of the screen. I also want to greet you, and I also want to congratulate you with having such a distinguished panel here today together with us. And Sigita started with this, positive and optimistic note, but let's be honest. In times of war, we can see clearly how art could be used to start the war, how art could be used to drive the war. So art and music and musicians and volunteers on the opposite side of good could be used to literally open the gates of war, right? And it is very sad. And when I talk to my colleagues who work in Ukraine, sometimes they address only the positive side. And the positive side is that art could be used as the key for resilience, and the art is a beacon for resilience and resistance. And when I discussed with my colleagues in Ukraine that I'm going to moderate this panel, they said, music cannot silence weapon. No, 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 no. But when you have your headsets, you can unite with those who are abroad, with those who are exiled. And Andrei, my first question is to you. You are a renowned Latvian musician, pianist, but maybe for Latvian audience, you are not known also as a charity driver person, and you are the head of Freedom Festival. But first of all, tell us about your personal experience. How music, how what you are doing help you to preserve your resilience and maybe also resistance?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here this morning. I think that it was a very big and difficult question all musicians and artists were faced when the full-scale war started. And we understand that our everyday work trying to make our craft more and more sophisticated, highest level, performing with all the right notes, all the right feelings, maybe is absolutely useless, because now the war starts there, maybe it will start in Baltic and then in the whole world. And what is the meaning of me playing piano a little bit better than yesterday? But it was like all my life. The most important thing. So it was a very big depression, very deep depression, and then I understand that it's not a good idea just to lay and cry. We have to do something. And I remembered that music could, as you said, absolutely true, could unite people, could heal the wounds and inspire them to do something. And that the music has this fantastic quality to remind us about the core values, about humanity, about being human, about how important a life of every person is. Because in music, very often we are about this kind of emotions, about this kind of weak person emotion whose emotions are very important and whose life is very important. And because this war is also the war about the existence of Ukraine, about the existence of Ukrainian language and culture, I understand that we can do a lot. So I changed the whole concept of my festival, and it became Freedom Festival for Ukraine. It became charity festival. It became festival which is absolutely open to refugees, both on stage. It was very important for us that we are bringing Ukrainian refugees on stage, and we make them friends with Latvian performers, so they can make some new ensembles, duos, groups, bands, and then they can be, and their voice could be heard. And of course to the whole society of Latvia, just to inspire that the music can bring us together, that it can remind about these core values, and we can see how many we are, how strong we are, and we can start to think what we can do to help Ukraine. Then there was a lot of people who were coming with their ideas about drones, about help of Ukraine soldiers, and we made a very big initiative, charity initiative, that a lot of some kind of 200,000 packs of food which you can heat in the war zone without fire and electricity. So you can have good food, in warm food, but without risk of being seen by radar and being destroyed by the bombardment. So a lot of these ideas come from the first idea that music and art could be a very important tool to unite society and to emotionally bring people together. Because as we said to our friends, and when I'm playing abroad, when in Latvia we understand this war not only by our minds but also by our hearts, because we understand what is it, occupation, and what Russia as country can bring. it brings destruction, war crimes, and death. And this is very important to remind to some of countries which were never occupied by Russia, and they thought that it is just some very nice culture, beautiful composers and artists and so on. So it is something that we have to do in Latvia, because we have to support Ukraine, because if Ukraine will fall, we know that we could be next. And if it will fall, we know that the world is like a very dark place when the evil could win. And it's not nice to bring our children in this world and to present them. Let's live now that evil is winning. Yes, so all these ideas bring us to make the festival, and it grow. And now, for example, 1 day ago, we finished a very beautiful initiative when 25 children from Ukraine music school came to Latvia. They had master classes of music here. They had concerts here. They performed. They had a lot of excursions. They saw Jūrmala, Sigulda, Tervete, Riga, beautiful museums of Riga, Opera House, National Museum, National Library, and they were like, wow, your country is so beautiful and so great. And when they came, they were a little bit frightened, but then every day they were more and more happy. So they were like more childish and naive and happy. And I think it's very important that we could bring them these feelings back, because in Ukraine they're frightened about all this bombardment and risk for their life. So we wanted to say, we want you on stage in few years. We want you to continue your work as young musicians, and we really want you to succeed in this field. Yes, so art can do a lot of things, and it was really a surprise for me how many people want to help, how many people in Latvia want to be part of something big, as you said, a big resilience, to help Ukraine and to help to make this war, to finish this war with a victory. And I think it's great, and it is a mission of musicians and of artists now to do these things. Because as I said in the beginning, if you just play your notes, it's good. But if your notes has a very deep meaning, then it's something really great.
As you said, if you're just playing your notes, how easy it is for you to draw the new lines when you see that some performers are on the side of evil? So is it easy for you to follow and to understand who is the part of this whole of society approach and who is the part of the opposite side?
For me, it's very easy, because the whole my life I was playing music, and I was thinking about that the individual, like freedom of a person and life to be lived as free as possible, and not to be killed by some army. It's like the core values. And if person wants to propaganda the war and to say that it's a very necessary way of doing things in this world, I have no compassion to this person, yes, because I think he or she against the whole idea of art, because art is not about killing. Art is about making life and seeing life in every aspect of our lives. So I think it was easy, and of course it was also important that because our festival is for Ukrainian people, also for refugees from Ukraine, we said that there will be no Russian music in our festival. Not because we're not playing Russian music. A lot of our musicians are great in Russian repertoire. But just in this moment, we thought that for Ukrainian people who just arrived from a very dark moment of their life, they lost their homes. Some of them lost their cities. We had actors from Mariupol who has like our theater is completely destroyed by bombing. Our city is now destroyed and we don't know how to live. My house is, I don't have this house, family house. So for her it was very important that we have this Ukraine message during the festival. And I don't think that it's very big sacrifice. There is so many great art in the world. So for me to draw the line, it's easy, but you have to do it and you have to think about it. And also when you are working with your partners, also think about their values. Then you are like a very great family who is working towards the victory.
Thank you, Andrei. Dana, in your case, in the case of your theater after 2022, you have newcomers, new professionals who entered your house, who also changed the theater from inside, and you have refugees from Ukraine. You also have those in exile in Belarus and from Russia. What lessons have you learned from them on their resilience and maybe resistance?
A lot of lessons. We are the oldest theater in Latvia. Michael Chekhov-Riga Russian theater is 142 years old theater. And please let me continue in Latvian, because for me it's much easier. So, but we will translate. Es gribētu turpināt ar to, ka kara laikā, pēc kara sākuma mēs uzņēmām darbā 12 kara bēgļus no Ukrainas, Baltkrievijas un Krievijas, no kuriem 9 ir ļoti talantīgi, ļoti spēcīgi mākslinieki, aktieri. Un, lai jums būtu saprotams, tie ir aptuveni 25% no mūsu teātra aktieru štata vienībām.
I just wanted to say that with the beginning of war, we accepted 12 very talented, great actors from Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine, and 9 of them are especially talented. I would say, for you to understand the scope, they make about a quarter of our team.
Un visi šie cilvēki, kuri ir aizbraukuši prom no savām valstīm, un šeit šobrīd es gribu akcentēt no Krievijas un Baltkrievijas, šie cilvēki, mākslinieki, ir atstājuši ļoti spožas karjeras, finansiāli labvēlīgas dzīves apstākļus, un bieži vien arī ir šķirušies no savām ģimenēm, kas palikuši tur tajās valstīs.
I wanted to stress that the people that have left, especially Belarus and Russia, they have left behind great careers, well-paid careers, and often even their families.
Šie mākslinieki un arī pārējie cilvēki, kuri izdarīja tādu pareizu, bet smagu izvēli, ja mēs runājam par dzīves komfortu, seko savai iekšējai kultūrai, vērtību kodam un aicinājumam, kas ir pilnīgi pretstatā pret Krievijas federācijas politisko spēku nostāju un uzsākto karu Ukrainā.
These people that just follow their inner values did it just against the official values, official cultural code, political code of Russian Federation that started this war.
Tāpat arī mūsu teātris nav noslēpums teikt, ka šobrīd būt par Krievu teātri karu laikā ir ļoti liels izaicinājums. Un mūsu teātris kopš kara sākuma ļoti aktīvi iestājas pret karu, ļoti aktīvi šo pozīciju translē, ļoti aktīvi palīdz bēgļiem gan no Ukrainas, Baltkrievijas, Krievijas un citām valstīm, piedāvājot darba vietas, finansiāli atbalstot. Mēs paši esam sagaidījuši bēgļus pie robežām un ar savām mašīnām veduši uz pilsētām, lai izmitinātu, piedāvājuši dzīves vietas. Mūsu aktieri ir tulkojuši arī Latvijas televīzijām saturu ukraiņu valodā, lai ukraiņi var saprast saturu arī skatoties televīziju. Mēs piedāvājam jau 3. gadu pēc kārtas bezmaksas biļetes ukraiņiem, kara bēgļiem, un par to mēs saņemam ļoti daudz pateicības vārdu, ka cilvēki no Ukrainas var baudīt svešā valstī kultūras produktu viņam saprotamā valodā.
And of course, you can imagine it's completely not easy to be a Russian theater in this situation. But since beginning of war, we have done a lot in charity. We have been providing workplaces. We have been providing financial support, even driving to border to pick up refugees. We have provided the content on TV, translated it for Ukrainians, provided free tickets to them, to our theater. This is our way of support.
Un te tagad es gribu pāriet pie tās, manuprāt, ļoti svarīgas pamata un tēmas, kas ir liels izaicinājums šodien kara apstākļos, kara laikā ir kļuvusi diezgan populāra un izplatīta tendence jaukt divas atšķirīgas lietas, respektīvi Krievu kultūra un Krievu valoda, jaukt kopā ar Krievijas federācijas politisko spēku un lēmumiem. Es paskaidrošu, pārtulkoju.
Yeah, I would like to also touch the question that has become quite topical during this war. Often it is easiest way to mix up two completely different things. One is the Russian language and culture, and the other is this political aspect.
Es paskaidrošu, kāpēc, jo kultūra kā jēdziens pats par sevi ir daudz smagāka jēdziens, kas ietver sevi laikmetus, gadsimtus, milzīgu pieredzi, kas noteikti nevar stāvēt blakus konkrēta brīža valsts politiskam spēkam un valdošam spēkam. Tāpat arī Krievu valoda.
So I would say that culture itself is a much broader term that includes centuries, experiences, cultural gatherings, and it cannot be equal to a short living political decision makers.
Un mūsu teātris ļoti aktīvi iestājās pret destruktīvu agresiju, kas, diemžēl, šodien arī ir bieža parādība sabiedrībā. Ko es ar to domāju? Mēs noteikti neatbalstam domu, ka cilvēki bieži vien tiek aicināti atteikties no savas identitātes. Tūlīt es paskaidrošu, tā ir vērts pārtulkot.
And our theater, all of us ourselves, we stand against destructive aggressivity, and this explains, this comes up sometimes as people are invited to give up their identity.
Es paskaidrošu savu piemēru. Tas būtu viskorektākais veids. Es esmu dzimusi Latvijā bilingvālā ģimenē. Manā ģimenē ir saknes gan latviešu, gan krievu. Es esmu dzimusi Latvijā, skolojusies Latvijā, es esmu dzemdējusi šeit bērnu, nodibinājusi ģimeni, mana tagadne un nākotne ir saistīta vienīgi ar Latviju. Un Krievijā es neesmu ne dzimusi, ne augusi, ne skolojusies un vispār apmeklējusi Krieviju maksimums 4 vai 5 reizes pa visu savu dzīvi ļoti īsās vizītēs, pārsvarā viesizrādēs vai kultūras pasākumos.
Let me explain on my own experience, my own example. I was born in Latvia in bilingual family, raised, educated here, getting my family, my child was born here. I visited Russia only 3-4 cases, cultural visits, such kind of occasions.
Lūk, un kad karš ir sācies, ir parādījusies tāda tendence, visu krievisko, respektīvi, ja cilvēks sevi attiecina pie krievu kultūras vai izmanto krievu valodu, saukt šo cilvēku vai šo cilvēku kopumu par agresoriem. Bet mūsu teātris, mūsu kolektīvs iestājās par to, ka pirmais, kas jāliek pirmajā plānā, ir cilvēks un viņa saturs. Respektīvi, manas domas, mana rīcība, mani lēmumi un ko es izvēlos darīt. Kā es pozicionēju sevi, savu attieksmi pret karu un kādas ir manas darbības. Un tālāk šo saturu papildina mana identitāte pēc kultūras, kuras esmu dzimis krievulodīgā ģimenē, latviešu vai kādā citā no nacionalitātēm.
So it's just the easiest way to classify people by their language, by the culture they follow. But actually I would stand for idea that it is all defined by mental content, spiritual content of person that is just supplied by cultural identity that person is born with.
Un šeit es nonāku pie paša laikam tāda svarīgāka jautājuma, par ko iestājas mūsu teātris ļoti sarežģītā, smagā laikā, kur apkārt virmo daudz ekskalētas emocijas un uzbrukumi, bet ar savu darbību teātris un teātra kolektīvs mēģina veidot sabiedrībā cieņpilnu dialogu ar visiem cilvēkiem.
So our theater would be having this position in this very difficult time, in this time that some kind of uncalled aggression comes up, to raise a discussion, to have a dialogue with all the different kind of people.
Un aicina cilvēkus dalīt uz labiem un sliktiem, nevis pēc valodas vai kultūras principa, bet pēc cilvēku darbībām, domām un attieksmes pret konkrētu lietu, ja mēs šajā nozīmē runājam par karu. Un pats svarīgākais arī pieminētie mūsu jaunie kolēģi, Ukraiņi, Baltkrievi un Krievi, ir ļoti labs palīgs šajā. Un mūsu teātris ar savu darbu, ne tikai izrādēm, repertuāru izrādēm, bet arī ar atklātām intervijām, ar iestāšanos visādu veidu mītiņos, mītingos, atbalsta akcijās, mēs aicinām sabiedrību uz saliedētību, nevis uz šķelšanos. Un nekādā gadījumā mēs nedrīkstam, es runāju par visu pasauli, atstumt tos cilvēkus, kuri mēģina maksimāli atbalstīt Ukrainu karā, kuri nostājās pret karu, kuri visām savām darbībām ir lojāli. Un man šķiet, ka tas ir ļoti liela kļūda šos cilvēkus likt viņiem justies nevajadzīgiem, svešiem, nepiederīgiem. Un arī tieši šis blakus mūsu radošai un kultūras darbībai laikam ir tas lielākais izaicinājums mūsu teātrim rūpēties par saliedētu sabiedrību un pirmkārt ar savu piemēru, cieņpilnā dialogā, bez uzbrukumiem, veikt dialogu ar katru cilvēku un nedalīt viņus tā kā divās daļās. Jā.
So this would be mission of our theater to promote dialogue between different parts of society, to see society more united than splitted, to see people not being qualified and classified by who they are originally, but their thoughts, their attitude, in this case, their attitude towards the war. And in this, our people coming from Belarus and Russia, these young actors, are our greatest help.
Centrā ir cilvēks, viņa saturs un rūpes par vispār cilvēciskām vērtībām. Tas ir tas, par ko iestājas mūsu teātris šobrīd kara laikā.
So in center of everything there is human itself and its values. This is what our theater stands for during this wartime.
Thank you, Dana. It's amazing how you describe the role of sense of belonging, and I hope to see more and more incoming performances in your theater, also providing coping strategies for resistance and resilience, also to, export these strategies to other societies and the countries. Heidi, and I come to you. You are head of organization Let's Do It World, engaging with participants from almost all members of the United Nations, 190 and 211 territories. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but the main idea is that you are cleaning the world. And there are different types of pollution. Please describe how do you manage to inspire a lot of very fragmented societies, and how do you work together with all of them?
Thank you for having me. I'm from Estonia, and this movement started from Estonia in 2008 already. And then it moved through to Latvia and Lithuania and to many countries in this world. I think something we did really right in this world. We had really bold idea to clean up our country, Estonia, in just one single day in 2008. And it was really high success. We had 4% of population actually who engaged. And suddenly it became like a story around the world. And we had a lot of countries who said, we want to do the same thing because we have so much pollution in our environment. So making the story really short, like 10 years back, I came to this organization because the organization had an idea that what if cleaning up one country in one day, we can clean up all the world in just one single day. So sometimes really bold and stupid ideas might be really beneficial and good for the world. And my task was actually to build up the world's biggest environmental network in this world. So today we are operating in 164 countries. I'm head of the global network, working 10 years by establishing this network, but also serving this network. And also I'm president of the organization. And how we actually are doing this work.
I think if we are working on global level for the same values, and we have the same desire, which is pure environment, future, and also to seeing other people with the same ideas, no matter what is your background or culture or religion, then I think it's really powerful. When we can speak the same language in global level by bringing all the people together and act as one, this is a force. So our vision is not just to clean up the world. Of course, it's not doable, at least not just with us. Even last year we engaged 19.1 million people only with our network in 198 countries and territories. Our main idea is to bring together critical mass of the people. And it doesn't have to be any kind of cleanup. It could be any kind of action. But cleanup is a really good example, because who wants to take others' waste and collect it and be in the waste? Nobody wants to do it. But I remember my first cleanup, how it changed me as a human. I was not part of this movement at all, but it changed me as a human. I was suddenly thinking who I am, my connection with me, myself, with the earth, with the universe, even with God, with everything. Why I'm here, what I'm doing, do I like it, do I don't like it? But it changed me, however. And suddenly, many years back, later, I was in this organization. Now coming back for critical moment of this mass engagement, we want to engage 5% of the population. Even 3.5% is enough to start systemic change in the society. This is why we are doing it. We want to have quite a lot of people who are engaged and start to think in the same format. Jelas Talka, I think, is really well known in Latvia. Engage 9% of their population in each World Cleanup Day or any kind of movement and actions what we are doing in Latvia. Mes Darom is from Lithuania. If I bring, talk about Baltics, let's do it. Ukraine, if you talk about Ukraine today, is one of the biggest environmental movements in Ukraine, but also biggest engager in Europe region. And it's really interesting how this kind of country who has been in the big war can engage nearly 300,000 people this year. But during the war, which is now as well, but last year it was 211,000 people. They had more than 5,700 locations, followed by their military, and they wanted to do the cleanup, and they did it. And our leader, Let's Do It Ukraine leader, Yulia Marhel, said, if we can do it, everybody can do it. Just to bring one example. And another example, when we talk about the wars, there are a lot of wars in this world. And I can see it because seeing the world in global level change your perspectives where we actually are living. The world is very small. Each energy and each conflict what we are bringing to this world is coming, doing some bad actions and energy in some other points as well. It's all connected. We are hugely connected. And there are wars even and conflicts what the world doesn't know or not speaking too much, even in Europe. In Latin America, indigenous people, in Africa, there are a lot of wars. Also Aborigines in Australia, fighting for the rights and everything. So we are facing that too. Well, the waste is also in Australia and also in Amazonas, if you want to say, if you talk about environmental actions. But I remember in 2017, when I was working by establishing the worldwide network, I suddenly had a call from Syria. And Syria was in deep war at this time. And the leader, Rasha Shamon, said that they heard about the World Cleanup Day, which will be happening first time in 2018, and they want to be part of it. And I said, how you can be part of it because you're in the war? How you go to the cleanup? I don't understand, is it a joke or what? She said, firstly, not all the part of Syria are in the war, of course, but in emotional level, you are in the war everywhere. And then she said, with our community, we want to forget the war, just even for 10 minutes, if it's possible, and do something good all together. So we can bring something good out from our hearts to all the society by engaging with each other. For me, it was like a waking point and changed my perspectives about the World Cleanup Day. I understood suddenly, actually, what it is, the power of being civic movement. What kind of hope and joy and I don't know, future it might be bringing to any kind of society, even the war zones. Now coming back to Ukraine again, when the war started, of course, I was part also of the social, it was Telegram, I think, a platform which brought together and all the Ukrainians, volunteers in Let's Do It Ukraine. And you know, I was witnessing how in few hours you can build up the network by simply bringing the communication the first days of wars up to 1,209 members in just few hours. This is a civic movement power. And the first task for them was just simply to be inside the information. Because if you face the war, I think the information is the first thing what you need immediately. And they had, from each part of Ukraine, volunteers who are bringing their information. The next thing actually is started to work on the materials. And then they established in some moments shelters and also humanitarian aid project. This humanitarian aid project actually had received United Nations SDG Mention Award 2022. And our organization also, if you talk about United Nations SDG, had a mobilization award from past year from United Nations as well. Yeah, this is basically about the organization. We can talk a lot about it.
I'll go metaphorical and I will tell that we need one significant cleanup in our neighborhood. And after this metaphorical remark, I'll jump into our another very specific conversation. You mentioned Liela Talka, and we, Latvia, are championing this movement, right? So yes. You are always showcasing Latvia when you have presentations on the global level. And we have another very popular movement now. The popularity of this movement is increasing, and I'm telling it to our international guests. And this movement is National Guard, known as Zemesardze. And when I'm asking my friends and colleagues, what about your plans for this vacation? They're saying Zemesardze. So they are joining you, they are newcomers, and it's great to see how this whole of society approach, this comprehensive defense is being implemented. But my question is on both tactical and psychological level. How do you use art to increase morale of those involved into your movement?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this panel. I'm very delighted to be here with such a distinguished speakers. Even I'm standing out from all the rest being too formal, and hopefully my answers will not be so formal. But first of all, I would say this is not even tactical. All the resilience and question is more strategic for us for defense. Taking into account where we are in our geography, in our history, an existential threat posed by Russia and its supporters with different means, different tools, military, non-military tools, what they're employing, made us to adopt this comprehensive state defense concept, which relies not only on military defense, where we are part of this as a National Guard, but definitely also civil defense. And also there is part of resistance concept, which we have to be ready. But of course resistance, I would say these are two concepts with resistance and resilience, because resistance would not be able to stand up for us as a resistance anyway, either against invasion or against occupation at the different phases, if there is no foundation of resilience. And resilience, this is something we need to build already now. We had to build it already yesterday, and this has to be done before we got into need to be resisting to something. We don't want to lose war, not even starting war. So preparation.
Clausewitz approach, right?
Indeed, that's everywhere. Nothing changes in military theories. Only character of wars might change, but main principles not changing. And and definitely this is something we are looking into what needs to be done. And of course, resilience is based on many prerequisites. First of all, it's something to create will and ability for population to be resilient, to be ready to resist. So what we're doing, at least through inviting our members to become new members, of course, we are promoting that, well, we will be preparing you for defending your family, so family values, your home, also your ties with your home. So this is something I would say, trick them in to our ranks. But definitely we want to be them part of a bigger organization so we can fight all together and be united into this. And this is something where I see the part of culture, art, as one of these drivers of power dynamics into what would unite all these different separate values. Well, because the values of defending family and defending home, individual home, these are still individual arguments or reasons to probably resist, which might be impacted, influenced by adversary, because with different tools, different approach, they might divide us. Everyone will then start to think about only my family, and probably will not look at the bigger value, what to defend as a state itself, as a country where we live, our homeland. And that's what we're bringing, of course, once you are in Zemesardze, in National Guard, so you are not anymore individual soldier, you're part of defense structure. And then we're going further on. While we, of course, I would love to see much more, but we are only 0.5% of all our population in Latvia, but the network is much bigger. Our member is a messenger of our values into their families, into their work environment, into their local communities. And we believe that through this message, we also spreading out this need to be resilient with one physical preparation, so prepare yourself, have your individual plan, how you can withstand pressure, withstand crisis, withstand in different domains, in physical, informational domain, but also psychological preparation. So that you know the values of what you're defending. There is motivation of what you are looking into defending. And if not directly, we're using, of course, culture and art, but we're looking at the ways. You know that many members who joined also representing this part of society. And I would say one of examples what we came up, we as Zemesardze and individual members themselves, with initiative of our slogan, what we're bringing now, selling to the community, Mana Latvija, Mana Atbildība, which stands for my Latvia, my responsibility. And this is something I want to say, that resilience is your ability to commit to your roles, to your individual roles, either in a crisis, either in war, and being ready to defend. Because most important into this that, as I said, art, culture is to be one part of creating resilience. If resistance might die out, might be suppressed, if there is no external support as we experienced in our history, if resistance physical armed resistance would die out, resilience of nation is important, that we keep a hope, keep a readiness, motivation to stand up once opportunities will appear. And I think this will help with different ways, either with maintaining our culture, our knowledge, even these symbols and signs. And I see our slogan, which is now probably is a preparation, but I imagine in an imaginary case of some occupation, if this slogans would appear on the streets that will call up for civil uprising again, and will remind that we are here, our networks are created, and we are ready. And it will be something I thought also coming back here on the way from another conference we discussed about resilience, that we also assumed that resilience and resistance, us demonstrating our potential into this, might deter adversary. This is something we're aiming for, but of what we've seen during the last 3 years, that it might probably not help. Russia will still be as a big bear coming and stepping over even on us, small hedgehogs around on the ground, but still will try to bite us. But I think this is still important that we show our readiness to resist and being resilient to ourselves, to our community, to increase our networks, that we will stand here and we will defend this one audience. And another one is international audience. I think very important that we show to our allies that we also will do whatever we can in whatever ways, and will resist to any incursions and occupations. And there's I think all what feeds into this preparation, into the motivation, is very important for us.
In such a brilliant and mild way, you introduced the art of war into the discussion, where word previously had some additional meanings. And with this, I'm opening floor to your questions. Please introduce yourself, and please identify to whom you want to address your question. And we have the mic here.
Thank you for a wonderful view of all the dimensions today. My question...
Please introduce yourself.
Sorry?
Introduce yourself.
Hamid Lajavardi. My question is, given the subject of resistance and resilience, are we ready in all the aspects that we talked about?
And the question is addressed to all panelists. Thank you.
There are different points of view. Are we ready?
I'll start. I say not. There's something, as Riga itself is to be always continued and developed. My personal feelings that we started implementing this comprehensive state defense. Formally, 5 years ago, was first mentioned in our state concepts, but even earlier on discussion. I say we reached quite mature approach on whole of government approach, all the government institutions realizing and recognizing the roles and commitments where they should commit in different stages of crisis up to the war. And next step we achieved also going to the municipal level, local levels, where also these networks are created and responsibility is shared on dividing, understanding roles. But I think we still need to go on and further and work with our individuals, people, as a communities. We're making steps already. Last exercise what we conducted here last month demonstrated also here in Riga that already population also is eager, not only claiming and asking questions, where's my shelter, where I have to hide, or who will be evacuating me, but actually also taking part in exercise and practicing their evacuation. So that's how they build their own individual resilience, psychological readiness, what could be the situations of war. But this still, we need to reach out. It's quite ambitious, actually, goal to reach out to all the population, but at least those who are responsive to us, we need to draw them in. And as I said, these will be the further messengers, because it's main important just to explain that this is nothing our government, we as an armed forces, want to push on you. We want to create that you by yourself understand the requirement, urgentness of this resilience.
I can answer that we have to be. We have no choice, no other choice. And also, I think that with our everyday work, we are showing that we will be ready to defend our country, our independence, and then the invasion will not be welcomed by any member of our society, which is a very important thing, and also a very important reminder that, especially when now it's spoken in big conferences, that Russia was never defeated in its history, but we remember that we live in independent country, which was occupied by Russia, and now it's not occupied, so it was defeated here. And I think this way of showing our strength is very, very important, because as you said, war is in different levels, and also the levels of ideas, and if there will be no idea that it is a good idea to invade Latvia, then there will be no invasion. I think that it is really, if every member of society is standing for our country in mind and in soul, then the invasion will not happen.
Are we there?
I think, yeah, we have to, because we have no choice. And this is why we in Latvia are much stronger than maybe other countries which are much far away from Russia, and they are discussing different scenarios, different strategies. We have no strategy of choosing it. We have only one strategy, that we have to defend our independence and our way of living in this region. So I think that we have to be, and as I see here, that there is a lot of things that is done to make our country really safe.
Es gribētu papildināt, es gribu papildināt Andreju atkal par šo savu tēmu. Un šodienas apstākļos ļoti svarīgi būt saliedētiem. Un mēs nedrīkstam cilvēkus, kuri ir maksimāli lojāli mūsu valsts nostājai, viņus atstumt un mēģināt viņus padarīt kā par atsevišķu sabiedrības daļu mūsu sabiedrībā. Un man šķiet, tas ir ļoti, ļoti svarīgi rūpēties par mūsu nacionālo drošību, par mūsu sabiedrību kopistiski, ka mums šeit arī, tā kā es pilnīgi piekrītu par to individuālo atbildību, viss sākās no ģimenēm, skolām un tā tālāk, bet ja mēs runājam par tādu lielu politisko atbildību, tad mums ir ļoti jārūpējās par šo vienotu, saliedētu sabiedrību, nešķirojot uz pēc valodas, teiksim, principa, bet aicinot būt visiem skatīties vienā virzienā, nestrīdēties savā starpā. Tas, manuprāt, ir ļoti, ļoti svarīgi.
Yeah, so I wanted to add that individual responsibility starts from school, from family, of course, but as society in general, we shouldn't be selecting and separating some groups of people, for instance, by their native language. We should be looking one direction, we should be going one direction.
And we have the next question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Matti Posio. I'm a newspaper editor from Finland. I think Mr. Osokins mentioned that some people in other countries only know the wonderful Russian culture and not so much the war machine. How do you think, because the war in Ukraine seems to be mainly and foremostly against culture, actually against being Ukrainian and what Ukrainian culture is and stands for. And if you look at, for example, Belarus, also Belarusian society is being held captive by partly Russian culture imposed on the free people in Belarus. So what should we do? How do you gather? What should we think about the Russian culture? Because so much of the Russian culture actually also is being imperialistic, and it's in the structures, and it's very hard to see where it is. So how do we approach Russian culture from now on? So your thoughts, mainly to the artistic side of the panel, but of course also for anyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My view will be that you have to evaluate the situation, and this is difficult because it's very difficult to draw the line which is like all the time should be in one place for centuries. No, the war really brings us to the conclusion that we should somehow we should evaluate the situation in its full scale. So it is the military aspect and it's also cultural aspect, yes. And it is important that we just know that sometimes Russian artists who came from Russia and who speak nothing about Putin regime, it is strange that they are silent, or even if they somehow are supportive when they are in Russia and they're giving concerts there, yes? And then they come here and to Europe and they want to be welcomed. This is the situation which is unacceptable, and they are really surprised about this. Sometimes, especially in classical music field, yes, they are surprised why they are not welcome. So you should sometimes evaluate every individual situation, because the world is very difficult to say one thing. For example, in my festival, as I already said, yes, we were saying that there will be no Russian music. It was, nobody told us to do it, but it was just free will of all the organizers of the festival. So it is really very, very difficult and difficult question, but I think also you have to think positive, and what could be done positively is Ukrainian culture. If somebody wants to destroy this culture, then you have to preserve it, then you have to cultivate it, then you have to play this music in the concert to show how beautiful this music is. Then you have to mention the words of great composers of Ukraine, of 19th century and today, and so on and so on. Then you helping this culture to survive and to become a global phenomenon, global thing. And I think now it's very important, because when the war started, we knew very little about Ukrainian culture. Now we know much more, and I think this is our fight against this idea to terminate and to kill this culture.
Thank you, Andres. And you also have a question. Please be very quick with your question.
Oh, sorry. I will ask you after.
My name is Sergei Potapkins. I'm from Latvian Institute of International Affairs. And so you asked me to be quick, so my question will be only to Dana. And my question is about art of propaganda. Our neighbor use full scale of tools. Internet, music, movies, social networks, they use all languages, including Latvian. We know they sometimes even did mirrors of very popular Latvian news portals. So don't you think that we are losing this war, and maybe even we are not trying to fight in this battle? We just try to restrict propaganda, even restrict language, but we do not create and do not oppose our content.
Paldies par jautājumu. Es pilnībā piekrītu par šo milzīgo propagandu, kas tiek izvērsta no Krievijas puses. Vai mēs zaudējam šajā propagandas karā? Es nezinu. No savas puses, mana personīga atbildība, mana kolektīva atbildība, mana sabiedrības burbuļa, ar ko es esmu komunikācijā, mūsu darbības ir maksimāli aktīvas, lai pretotos šai propagandai. Un es kā teātra vadītāja, mēs esam tagad kļuvuši par ļoti spēcīgu kultūru politikas instrumentu mūsu valstī, kur mēs spējam uzrunāt to sabiedrības daļu, kura neklausās latviešu mēdījus, nelasa latviešu žurnālus un tā tālāk, bet labāk ieslēdz YouTube, sociāltīklus vai skatās Krievijas kanālus. Un mēs esam spējīgi uzrunāt šo sabiedrību, kur ir nācēja uz Krievu teātri. Un kura daļa spēja vēl... sorry. Yes.
Thank you for this question. Are we losing this battle? Hard to say, but definitely in our social bubble that we spend our time, we are doing everything not to lose it, and definitely our theater has become a very powerful tool to reach that part of society that usually would just switch on some propaganda channels, YouTube, etc., but they are the ones coming to our theater, and this is our chance to convey the message to them.
Jo mēs pirms pašas pirmās kara dienas otrās dienas, februāra februārī, es pati personīgi ierakstīju ar savu balsi pirms katras izrādes sākuma vēstījumu skatītājiem. Par to, ka teātris ir kategoriski pret karu, ka aicina cilvēkus arī atbalstīt šo pretkaru pozīciju aktīvi. Un arī pirmajā gadā, kad sākās karš, man bija arī ieraksts, kur es aicināju latviešu sabiedrību neuzbrukt uz krievulodīgiem Latvijas iedzīvotājiem, kuram nav nekāda sakara ar kara sākšanos.
When the war started, well, first, maybe actually second day of the war, I recorded a message myself, my own voice, that was played every time before performance in our theater, inviting to understand the situation, to support. And later I also conveyed a message not to split society according to native language.
Un tālāk jau trešais gads iet, mēs katru vakaru skan šie ieraksti, un es mazliet mainu tos ierakstus. Un mazliet atbildot arī uz iepriekšējā jautājumu, par kultūru. Kultūras inteliģence laikmetos vienmēr bijusi pret imperialistisko domāšanu, pret karu. Un arī šī brīža skanējumos, ko es atkal ierakstu ar savu balsi, es izmantoju krievu klasiķu, Dostojevskis, Tolstojs, Akudžāva, Miraškovski citātus par viņu aicinājumiem stāties pret karu un pret imperialistisko domāšanu. Un tad es turpinu saviem vārdiem uzrunāt auditoriju.
And I changed this message every time according to change of situation. And what was asked by a previous speaker about imperialistic background of Russian culture, there has been always a certain part of intelligent Russian cultural workers that spoke against the war. So in my messages, I recite them, asking and trying to convey their message to audience.
Lai nekavētu jauku, es varu pabeigt ātri. Kāds ir secinājums? Atbild uz jūsu jautājumu, vai mēs zaudējam? Tā ir ļoti individuāla atbildība. Mūsu teātris ļoti aktīvi stājās pret šo propagandu. Un kā, varbūt, tāds tā kā secinājums tam varbūt, mūsu repertuārā ir diezgan daudz jau tagad politisko izrāžu par kritisko domāšanu. Viens no spilgtākajiem ir Hamlets Kairiša, kur viņš atspoguļo karu Ukrainā, kur arī ir Putins uz skatuves. Un tad, kad pirmajā gadā mēs spēlējam šo izrādi, durvis klapēja. Cilvēki, krievulodīgie stājās kājas, klapē ar durvīm un kategoriski pretstojas tam. Pagāja gads pusotras, un mēs jau redzam, ka šie paši cilvēki ir tomēr atvēruši savu kritisko domāšanu un sāk jau raudzīties uz situāciju savādāk. Un tā propaganda vairs, manuprāt, uz viņiem tik ļoti neiedarbojās, jo viņi ir spējīgi ieklausīties caur mums citā pozīcijā, mūsu valsts pozīcijā. Sorry.
Yeah. So, answering your question, are we losing this war? We are trying to play some plays that encourage critical thinking to people that develop it. And for instance, one of them is Hamlet, by stage director Mr. Kairiš, Latvian stage director, where on the stage you can see the Ukrainian war situation, and even Putin appears on the stage. And that was shocking to our audience. In beginning, some of them were leaving performance, clapping doors, but I can see situation changing. So my conclusion is that their mindset is changing.
Thank you, Dana, and I hope you are drafting a new message for a Victory Day, and it will be played, and I hope it will be played very soon. And I want you to join me with a round of applause to our panelists, and thank you so much for such a valuable discussion.